invite you to, maybe pay attention to how you're sitting, feeling your feet planting the ground, feeling your back, holding your body up. And then we'll start by exhaling deeply through your mouth. Deep inhale through your nose. And exhaling through your mouth. All right, let's get going. So thank you so much for taking the time to be here. I know it's been a really stimulating few days, so I appreciate keeping a little bit of space in your brain and your attention. And a big thank you to all the organizers who've been steering a big ship. My name is Lauren Ducrey. I am a poet, an AI designer, a keynote speaker, and a string cheese enthusiast. And I think I just realized I don't need this for right now, so I'm going to take this off. So I spent 7 years at Google teaching AI, like the Google Assistant and Gemini, to be more emotionally literate. And I'm here today because of a single statistic. McKinsey predicts that in response to AI adoption, the demand for socio-emotional skills is going to increase by 14% in the next 5 years. So I just want to let that land. That means that in a room of 20 job applicants for a technical role, the recruiters will be looking for the 3 of them that demonstrate emotional intelligence. So a lot of us have spent our careers mastering technical skills, right? Shipping code, creating UX frameworks, scaling business models. But the twist is our edge isn't in being the most technical person in the room. Not when we can vibe code entire programs. Your edge is in being the most emotionally intelligent technical person in the room. I believe that we have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to value our emotional intelligence as much as we have historically valued our analytical, our logical, our rational intelligence. And I believe this because digital transformation is human transformation first. If you're integrating AI into your company, if you're launching a product or a service in a market that is now very much shaped by AI, you're not just implementing change, you're guiding humans through it. And the numbers on this are in too. 70% of change efforts fail. Not because the plan was bad, but because people didn't feel safe enough to follow. People didn't feel heard and understood, so they didn't listen and they didn't understand. When innovation feels like a storm, people are going to look for a port. And that port doesn't look like a nice 50-page report. It looks like support. It looks like presence. It looks like language that listens. Because language is the human OS. It's how we interface with each other. And it's now the raw material of this new wave of AI. And so as words literally shape our world, as natural language becomes the new code, the way that we use our language matters more than ever. 14% more, you might say. So trust me that I did not expect to find myself a poet working on the bleeding edge of one of the biggest technological evolutions. But I think it actually makes sense. Because poetic language isn't just for poetry. Poetry is the language of emotional precision, of empathy, of nuance. Poetry teaches us how to slow down, how to listen, how to notice, how to name difficult things with beautiful language. And that type of language isn't a luxury. It's a leadership skill. It's not just about what we say, it's about how we say what we say. And the delightful irony here is that AI can actually help us say what we have to say more thoughtfully. So that same technology that we look at with a little bit of fear in our eye that it's going to replace our ability to use words in thoughtful, connective ways can actually help us find the right words. So I would like to walk us through a few use cases from my career where AI shows us that it can help us become more caring communicators. The first example that I want to share with you is how my former team at Google turned the Google Assistant into a model of empathetic communication. So we had the top trends on the top questions that people asked the assistant. And during COVID, one of my coworkers noticed a new trend. She noticed that people were saying things like, I'm sad, I'm lonely, I'm afraid. And so we partnered with researchers and psychologists to craft the most appropriate responses without falling into therapy, not the role of the Google Assistant, but without sounding cold and dismissive. And so I actually put it to you. If you said, I'm sad, to your virtual assistant, which response would you rather receive? Would it be option A, I'm sorry you're sad. I hope you feel better soon? Would it be option B, thanks for sharing that with me. Being honest about your feelings is a big step. Or would it be option C, sadness is a common emotion. Feeling down or unhappy in response to grief, discouragement, or disappointment is normal. If ongoing, this may indicate depression. So by a show of hands, I'm curious, who would rather get option A? We have one hand in the back. How about option B? Many more hands. And how about option C? No one. We got one hand. All right, all right, all right. So the option that we ended up going with was option B. And that's because option B does something very simple that also holds true for human-to-human interactions. Option B validates the person's experience, right? Thanks for sharing that with me. Being honest about your feelings is a big step. And only once it's done that validation did we move forward with practical solutions. And this turned out to be so successful that we rolled this out in 30 different countries in 30 different languages, so it also holds true across cultures. Now, beyond being a model for empathetic communication, AI can also help us practice our communication skills, practice our ability for empathy in language. And that is exactly what Home Team does. I got to be the UX lead on this project, this program built by a startup called Reflex AI. And Home Team is a program for US military vets to become better supporters for other vets through mental health challenges. Now, why US military vets? Because of the following statistic, which, trigger warning, is heartbreaking. Because vets are 1.5 times more likely to die by suicide than non-vets. And so the team behind Home Team identified the following gap. And this is that 92% of vets report wanting to help peers with their mental health, but only 25% feel equipped to do so. And I would even venture to say that that type of gap exists beyond the veteran community. We want to support each other, we just don't have the words to do so. And so we set out to build Home Team as an educational program that equips vets with practical tools to have life-saving conversations. The learners get to go through modules that were created by the R&D team that was absolutely amazing, that teaches things like asking open-ended questions, validating, reflecting, asking direct questions when it comes to self-harm. But here's the twist. At the end of each module, the learners got to practice those skills with an AI character that played the role of a veteran in need of support. And so I want to hone in on how much of a game changer this is in the way that a lot of us think about using AI. Because Home Team essentially flips the script from AI providing support to humans to AI enabling humans to be better supporters to other humans. In other words, Home Team doesn't replace an existing human role, but it does open up an entirely new space for conversation practice, to have those conversations and those interactions that can literally change lives. And the beauty is that you can do this too. You can learn to prompt the LLM of your choice to have and practice important conversations in your life and at work. I've worked with teams and leaders and seen them completely light up as they rehearse these conversations that they otherwise would avoid, and walk into those conversations feeling so much more confident. And my call, not to action, but to wonder for you today is this. What conversation would you have tomorrow if you knew you could practice having it in a low-risk, anonymous environment? How would that change your day, your week? How would that change the other person's day, week? How would that change your organization's culture? My takeaways for you are these. EQ is your leadership edge. Treat empathetic communication as a core competency, and you can start practicing today with a prompt, with presence. And to get you going, I have prepared a free toolkit that you can use to start role-playing with AI. And if you're curious about how this work can impact your team, your leadership team, your organization, please feel free to reach out on LinkedIn. I obviously love to nerd out about these topics. As a parting gift, I will leave you with a poem. Because as much as ChatGPT can generate entire paragraphs of language, poetry is the original language model. It's a model that doesn't just teach us how to think, it teaches us how to feel, to imagine, and to connect. And this poem is called Open Office. You do not have to have that conversation at 2 a.m. in bed, in the dead of night in your head. You do not have to rehearse the imaginary maybes all alone until you've turned self-doubt into your home. You can reach for the switch that will flip your mind into remembering you do not have to have each reply perfectly predefined. You can learn to ask questions so wide, they will flip doors open onto remembering that there are answers you never even thought could fit into your life. The trick to turning work conversations into tables we gather around rather than meeting room battlegrounds lies in 2 small words that might just change your world. Listen curiously. To listen curiously is the key to unlocking what you really need so that you can ask for it free of the shackles of feeling angry, guilty, or silly, so that we can start to break down the wall of assumptions that we build between you and me, so that we can walk under an open sky of understanding, of shared reality. Thank you so much for your attention, for welcoming poetry into this space. I will be hosting a conversation roundtable at 11:30. If you want to keep on talking about this, please stay in touch. And I do have a few printout versions of that poem. If you're curious, come and find me as well. My name is Ducrey. Thank you so much.